All right. Welcome into the Questionable Podcast on a sad Monday. You guys,
I was gonna say you don't have any. I was gonna say you have like zero energy today.
It's a sad day this week here. You got Scotty Questions here with Meko.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude? You know what's up. And Gionne.
How's it going?
Fine. It's been an interesting day, and I hear that we're gonna hop right into it. I hear, Gionne, you're a little broken today.
I am. This one, so it's bad when my dad, who calls like specifically to like give me shit and like razz me, like I called him. He didn't even call. I called him a few hours after, and he was like, he didn't even bring it up. And like I even brought it up. I was like, "Oh, did you watch?" He goes, I turned it off after the halftime or whatever." And I said, I completely expected you to be grilling me on it, and he's like, "No, that's just in these times, it's just like the pity and the like was almost worse than anything else." So
oh man.
But it totally matched like how I felt and everything, and because this one did this and then we had just like a genuine conversation commiserating over the performance, and this one did it. This one broke me in a way. I mean, I think a lot of people have a similar feeling, and we're going to touch on that. It's going to sort of be the theme of the episode about like the how deep is the well here, and because remember, Scott, I thought of this earlier today. Remember last week when you're like, it can't get much worse.
Oh, you blame it on me now?
No. I'm not blaming it on you, because kidding. In that same on that same token, my prediction, what do the Lions need to do to win? The Lions need to do X to win. I said the defense just needs to not give up 30 points. And the monkey paw curled, and it was like, I wish granted. Wish granted. The defense kept them under 30 points, and then
needs to adjust his commentary because whatever he says happens. Like this is what, the third time? Meko, this is number 3?
Oh, with the injuries? What was the second one?
Yeah, the injuries. What is the second one? This is the second one. Yeah.
Gosh. Okay. I was getting.
Then I guess I just really need to watch what I say.
2. He's 2 for 2. No, it's not. It's. So. Well, anyway, shout out to Dr. Tom. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. So anyway, yeah, John.
But. The reason this broke me, and I think we can use this as a launch point to dive in. I'm curious to get your guys. You don't know what I'm about to say, but I made a list of like why this game in particular, what I saw. And number one was because this was pretty much going into this game the worst case scenario. The best unit on our team, the O-line, got absolutely worked, absolutely unequivocally worked. And the one good thing we had going for us, which was the offense, looked so bad that it made me think, were we ever this good? Or did we hit teams at an advantageous moment in the season? Or Goff has not improved as much as I thought, or we thought, or at least he's just proved he just can't play under pressure, or that when he gets hit, he just goes on tilt and just something comes out and he's just razzed. As Meko has said, he never gets over it. I think you said that 2 weeks ago, I think. And then the one, to the monkey paw point, the one game the defense kind of shows up. They only gave up 22 points as opposed to 45 2 weeks ago. 48, sorry. But the one game the defense kind of shows up and holds an opponent to 22, the offense just completely craps the bed. And furthering this idea that, furthering our takes in previous weeks, that we just can't play a whole game as a team. Whether it's the whole team, offense and defense and special teams, only playing 2, 3 of 4 quarters or 2 quarters or whatever. Now it's, okay, the defense actually played a fairly complete game-ish, but the offense just played 0 quarters. And so we just cannot play a whole game as a team. And lastly, this was the first game this season that I saw that the tackling looked like it did under the Patricia regime. And because they had that one tackle where I swear to God, if there were 11 defenders on the field, 9 of them got a hand on their running back. I think you know exactly the play I'm talking about. I mean, I think 8 or 9 people touched him, and he just kept going. It was that was the most, to me, like the most shameful anti Dan Campbell ish play that I saw. So that was my list. That's why it broke me, because like all of these things that we thought we were starting to figure out came unraveled. Now, I've been talking for a long time. I'm going to throw it back to you guys. But today, in the cold light of morning, I'm not as down as I was yesterday when I wrote this list.
But I was going to say, that's a really depressing list.
I'll throw it back to you guys before I get into like why I'm not as bad today as I was yesterday.
Well,
good.
Yeah. I mean, because that's a depressing list. Like,
it's a depressing list. And after that, I do want to remind everybody to please like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. And please head over to Questionable Tees to check out Detroit fanwear that is the Lions, Wings, and Pistons coming. So just giving everyone a shout out on that. We got some cool stuff coming there too. But anyway, having said that, as everybody knows, Lions lost to the Patriots 29-0. And yes, John has been affected and maybe a little broken today. And we feel for him, and we feel for a lot of Lions fans. We have seen everything on social media, the good, the bad, the ugly. And yeah, this is a tough one. Meko, we were talking a lot about this, and I'd love for you to follow up with John's 2022 October depressing list, where we can go from here a little bit, at least to start.
I mean, there's a lot of places that we're going to go to in breaking down this game and reacting to this game, because, I mean, again, if you're a fan and you watch the game, there's nothing good to point out, so it's all bad. So, grab your stress ball, whatever you need to do, grab a beer, whatever you need to make it through this podcast, because it's going to be frustrating. But we got to start with the man in charge, and we got to start with Dan Campbell. And I mean, Dan has proven that he has a style of coaching that is aggressive, that is very unorthodox in comparison to what you would typically see most coaches do. But I think it's fair to start to wonder, after this most recent game, like, is his style of coaching starting to drive this team into the ground? Because it seemed like he was being very hard-headed yesterday. He had a goal in mind, and it just, like, he never adjusted. He never deterred from whatever it was that he wanted the team to do. So, Scotty, I mean, how do you kind of feel like his style of coaching is impacting the team at this moment?
His style of coaching, I think that, like we've talked about, he's built a great culture with this group, and he's built a cohesive unit. It's interesting to me that, to John's point, they all can't play like a full game together, which is interesting, right? They're all rah-rah, and we're all ready to go, and we're all going in this direction, but it seems like not everyone can get there at the same time. It's like everybody's getting to the finish line at different points. And
sure.
And so I get what we've seen with Hard Knocks and all of this, but we have to, we got to see it. We got to get everyone to the finish line at the same time. We got to play a full, complete game. We need to see it. So, I think after this loss, I think that is probably weighing on the players and him a little bit. I mean, they've trusted the system. I mean, we remember what Dan Campbell said in the beginning of Hard Knocks. I have a plan. You guys got to trust me. And, they went to pads early, and a lot of people are getting injured. We had 5 injuries in the game on Sunday. That's a lot of injuries in a game. One was really bad, and we want to send our prayers and wishes, to Savion and the family. He had, so I'm glad he's okay. That looked scary for a while. But is his style of coaching driving the team into the... I don't know yet, but we're close to finding out. I think the bye week couldn't come at a better time, and I think that I really think it's one of those things in which we have to wait and see. Again, we're in this wait and see thing. Again, I don't think Dan Campbell's gonna lose his job. I think he's got this year, my opinion only. But no, I mean it's not looking great. It's not looking great. So I don't think it's driving them into the ground, but I think it's wearing on them. Is that? I mean,
I feel like that's kind of the same.
Okay. So I think it's wearing on them. I would say wearing on them, maybe not driving them into the ground, but wearing on them. I would say a little bit less than.
All right. Well, I would say driving them into the ground because Dan has to find, and we kind of talked about this a little bit pre-show, but like in my opinion, Dan had to find this happy medium between understanding when to be ultra aggressive and when to trust the game plan or trust his players specifically. I think the biggest blunder that Dan Campbell made, believe it or not, is not the 4th and 9 call. The biggest blunder that Dan Campbell made in this game was never trusting his defense from the jump. And with a coach that preaches so much about you have to trust me and we have to do this together and we have to lean on one another, Dan, in my opinion, went the complete opposite of that in this game with the Patriots. He leaned solely on his offense and put so much of his faith in his offense and didn't put that same faith in his defense. And it's not like it's lost on me why he would do that. Obviously, coming off a game where you gave up 40 plus, you've been giving up 30 plus in every game except for, well, now 2. So I understand why there's a lack of trust. But to your point, if the players are going to start to kind of like lose faith in him or start to kind of question him, I think it's going to be after a game like this where you didn't show trust in one whole half of your team. And that to me is probably the biggest blunder. And I think that if he continues that style where he's like, well, I'm just going to lean on this one unit and we're going to be super aggressive all the time, that's going to wear on teams, because at some point in time, like, football is still a chess game. You still have to play the game in that way. I have no problem with you going for it on a 4th and 1. I have no problem with you going for it when you're basically on the 2-yard line and you're like, we're going to try to get this touchdown. I have no problem with that, with those types of plays. But there has to be situations where you literally trust your defense to go out and do their jobs. You can't just take that away from them and just assume that your offense is going to pick up the slack, because then you end up with situations like this where it never happened. So I think, yeah, it is going to start to drive them into the ground a bit when he's just being this aggressive all the time. Gionne?
I'm not so sure. So oddly enough, Meko, you had said last week it was personnel, and I was like, no, it's scheme. And oddly enough, when everyone's talking about coaching style, I've kind of flipped to the personnel side of this whole thing. And maybe I'm just like a week late to the party, and then like,
oh, you're
sure, on the bye week I'll be saying, oh, their scheme's terrible. But you had said something, I don't know if it was in our text or if it was last week, where you had said, I'm not sure if it's Dan Campbell's style of coaching. He's certainly making some head scratching decisions, and I'm not going to absolve him of that. I'm not going to try and like explain those away, but sure. I'm not sure if this is Dan Campbell's style of coaching or if this is the style that his personnel has cornered him into playing. And because we didn't see a lot of this stuff in the Commanders game, and that's the game, like, it's the one win, and it's the one game that we had the lead from the get-go. And we took our foot off the gas, and again, he made some head-scratching decisions in the 4th quarter about tempo and playing conservative, but you didn't see a lot of the just, and Meko, this was your point I think a couple of weeks ago, was you just didn't see any of like the asinine blunders like in the Minnesota game and then in this game, and just these absolute, like, where you're staring at the TV and just in silence for like, as it's happening, just like, what this did like the Large Hadron Collider. Like I'm in an alternate universe, and like they're doing like the not like this is not reality. And those decisions weren't being made in the Commanders game. And so I think that a lot of this, but it goes back to your issue of trust. If he's talking about trust, then you trust these second and third stringers. But I do think part of these decisions are he's having to make them because of the personnel on the field. Sure. That said, again, like with the Minnesota, there was, as Jeremy Reisman tweeted, after that there was the smart play, or the aggressive, the safe, and the stupid play. And the aggressive play was to go for it, the smart play was to punt, and the stupid play was to go for the field goal in the Minnesota game. And then in this one, I feel like he was presented with the same set of options: aggressive, safe, and stupid. And he, I think, also like picked sort of the stupid one. I think a lot of people have been saying he's in his own head, he's overthinking, and I think this is what we're talking about. And it kind of makes me concerned that he can kind of figure this out. Is that maybe, again, I don't know, I'm not in his head, but if he's like being haunted by the ghost of that decision that did cost them the game, which he sort of put on himself and admitted, then he's like, oh, well, I didn't go for it then and I should have, so I'm going to go for it now. Completely blind or oblivious to the fact that the context is completely different, the situation's completely different, and like everything about this decision is different. So it's not in any way the same. It's not just about, oh, I wasn't aggressive here, so I'll be aggressive now. Like the entire world of context was not taken into account, it seems like, if that was why he did it. So in that regard, it makes me really question his the decision making.
Yeah, so to answer that question specifically, I do think it's coaching style, because in this game specifically, right? Because personnel wasn't the issue offensively, because that's the problem that's the side of the ball that was having the issues. And yeah, you didn't have Swift, but you didn't have Swift the week before. You didn't have Chark. You didn't have Chark the week before. So it was, to your point, it's Dan Campbell not having a good feel for the game. It's him not understanding that these situations are not the same. Just because you didn't go for it on a fourth down in the fourth quarter against Minnesota doesn't mean that you have to go for it on fourth down in the first quarter when you're only down by 6.
Down 6 in the first versus down 3 in the fourth.
Yeah, like it's not the same. And so to me, that's Dan Campbell's aggressiveness getting the best of him, because he wants to be aggressive. He wants to, if he's in a fourth and manageable, or if it's a fourth and short and he thinks like, oh no, I have this much faith in my offense that they'll execute, he's going to go for it. Then that's who he is. That's his style. Like, I've reserved myself to the thought that if it's 4th and 1 and they're at least near midfield, the Lions are going for it. Like, it's not even a guess. Like, don't expect the punting unit to come out in those situations. But I think it's kind of gotten the best of him, where any fourth down is up for grabs now. And I don't think that's going to be helpful or beneficial to the team.
Yeah.
Thoughts,
Scott? You stopped yourself.
I agree with both of you. I think that he has been caught in 2 trap games almost. I think Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick have let him like hurt himself. Like, they're giving him everything he needs to do what he's gonna do. And I think this really showed in the Belichick game. And it's just hard for me. Like, he is clearly learning on the job, which is fine. And he's got to be, he's got a couple years, but he's got to keep learning. We got to have some progress. And it doesn't mean he has to change who he is, but just hitting on your point, he's got to adjust to the situation, right? Just agreeing with what you guys are saying. He's got to adjust to the situation and not just go and not just go back into what he knows and being super aggressive. And I want to connect this to Jared Goff. When Jared Goff feels pressure, not just to go back to what Jared Goff does. But go ahead, Meko.
Well, what I was going to say is like I'm going to kind of push back against that a little bit on this idea that like he doesn't like no, he does need to evolve. Like, and evolving is a form of change, but he needs to evolve. He doesn't have to like become somebody that he's not, but he needs to evolve his style of coaching. And again, which means
adjusting his aggressiveness in situations.
Well, yeah. What I'm getting at is like he needs to evolve and he does need to change because he can't continue to look at every fourth down situation the same. He can't look at it that way. Like it's just not.
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, I'm agreeing.
I'm just saying like I'm explaining why I think he needs to change. Like because that is what's going to drive this team like the opposite direction. Because again, at some point in time, teams are going to expect you to go for it on fourth down. And again, that's fine in certain situations. If you want to go for it on 4th and 1 with Jamal Williams or DeAndre Swift or Amon-Ra on the field, you're like, no, I'm confident that we're going to get this 4th and 1. Fine. I think I said this a couple weeks ago. When I look at fourth down plays, it really is on a pass-fail circumstance. If it works, then we all talk about how gutsy Dan Campbell is and like let's break out the wheelbarrow and yada yada yada, right? Like we're all in on the fourth down plays. When they don't work, that's when we question them. So like again, I don't mind as long as they work. But when they don't work, like you have to understand you can't continue to go for it 6 times in a game. Like at some point in time, it's like, hey, punt. The defense is at least alive. Like maybe it's not stellar, right, but they have a pulse in this game.
And that was also my thing. Like you could understand, commiserate with this strategy against Seattle, going for it on 4th and 9 when like your defense literally could not even hold a team to a field goal the entire game. So like then, yeah, sure, I understand. First 2 drives, field goal. Like your defense was getting stops, and I think that's another thing that really has me scratching my head after this game is that in this game, why be so aggressive when your defense was getting it done?
Oh, and let's be honest, it's a 3rd string quarterback. Punt it, put him at the other, like, come on. Like, what do you, it's not like it's Tom Brady. It's not like it's, I mean, it's a 3rd stringer, Zappy, who we clearly just wanted to build up his confidence. Here, take it. Take it at the 40 and see what you can do. And then after that, he's like, well, he's up a couple TDs. Like, well, no pressure now. I could like let it loose. Like it just, I don't know.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like to both of your point, it's not like Bailey Zappi really beat you. He threw 1 touchdown pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he literally just managed the game and allowed you put him in position to get field goals.
Right. Like, but all we need to do is fluster him. He's a 3rd stringer who has had no reps. Like just fluster the guy. Like,
I mean, not even this.
Drive the whole field.
Thank you. That's what I was getting. That's what I was going to say. Make him drive the length of the field.
Right. Don't give it to him at like the 40, on the after that 4th down. Like I get, like I want to go for. I feel like we'd get it, but like, wasn't that a 4th and 9?
Yes. Yeah, that one specifically was a 4th and 9.
Yeah, like so, but it's Zappy. Like punt it with a Pro Bowl punter we have. Right. I mean, Jack Fox, let's use an asset. Why are we not using assets that we have? We're like trying to make it harder for ourselves. That's what it feels like. We're just trying to make it more difficult.
Well, and this is what I'll say. And again, pointing back to his coaching style. I think the pressure got to Dan Campbell, right? They're 1-3, getting ready to go into the bye. I think he felt the pressure that we have to win this game. We all said it. We were like, hey, must win. And I think he felt that pressure. And we talked about this a little bit again before the show. And I said this along the lines of like, as a professional, you're the one who has to manage those emotions. You're the one who has to keep that in check because it can very much be a must win, but that doesn't mean that you bet at all. Because if you go broke, like, then what? Because now they're going into the bye looking for answers after a game that was not even remotely good. Like nothing good to take away from that game at all.
Yeah, it's like the guy. Yeah,
I mean, it's the guy at the casino that's just
that goes all in
on red, like
loses it, and then goes and like pulls out like gets
100 on
wife's
black
credit card,
that's red again.
and then like takes his wife's credit card, gets another $5,000, puts it on red again, and then loses it
What
again.
it feels like.
Oh my
Well,
god.
yeah, Dan Campbell essentially went into this game with a pocket full of fourth down conversions, right? And was like, I'm gonna let it ride because we've been converting these. And it's like, but Dan, game management, game flow, like these things matter. That's how you're able to convert some of these fourth downs. It's not just because the play call is amazing. It is game flow. It is catching them off guard so they don't expect the fourth down. Right? It's putting that play in place in such a way that they don't expect the punter to throw, a curl route to your wide receiver. Like there's so many things that he lost sight of.
Or it's putting Jamal right in the fullback position for that 4th and 1 and maybe like throwing it. Like everyone knows he's going to run it and maybe don't do it. I mean, again, I don't think that's Dan, but it's just,
I think that's more execution. Like again, because to John's point, right?
Fair,
Offensive line,
running
you should
behind
be able to get a yard.
and Logan. Yeah, he should have made that
1 yard.
You got to be able to get a yard, right? Like, and that's the other thing too. Go ahead, John.
Well, so no, I was gonna kind of go off on another thing. So if you were gonna,
what I was gonna say was like,
stay on it.
With some of these fourth downs, like they're not all created equal, right? Like the 4th and 9.
Yes, like every catch
really
is not created equal. Correct.
Right.
Or every not catch, it was a drop.
Every drop is not created equal. Yeah. But the 4th and 9 does not seem like a good play. Like you also just shouldn't be going for it at fourth and 9. But then there was another 4th and 1, I think that they went for with Craig Reynolds. That probably should have been picked up, but because Goff and Reynolds basically botched the handoff,
whoops.
Yeah, right.
It throws off the timing of that entire route.
That's what that play was.
Yeah.
You look at the 4th down play that he threw the ball to Saint short.
Mm-hmm.
Like he threw that so quick, and I don't think there was exactly that much pressure. Like it was just again, Jared Goff
he was
running the play
at that point.
Right. And it's like if you allow that play to develop, maybe Saint gets out a little further or maybe somebody else comes up. I think somebody else ended up coming open on that play. And it's like, well, he threw it to Saint instead, though. Like it's some of it is execution. Like Dan was right to go because at some point in time, like they were down so bad where it was like, yeah, you kind of got to go for it on 4th down at this point. But Dan's aggressiveness, I believe, put them in that hole Dan's aggressiveness is part of the reason they ended up in that hole. There's a whole other reason why they ended up in that hole, and it has to do with, the offense.
Yeah. Well, so this ties into my point is that there were multiple times where TJ Hawkinson was the one blocking Gionne. And I don't know if that was a D-line adjustment on their part that was smart or like, what the hell? But there were multiple plays where like you're expecting your tight end to go against like their best rusher who's just blowing him up. And like in that case, I mean, Goff still needs to make the play, but like Scott, you said he's seeing ghosts. Like, yeah, no shit. Like you've just seen your last line of like the levee's broke, man. And like you see that water rushing in and like, I don't know if that's a Dan Campbell thing. I don't know if that's a Ben Johnson thing. I don't know who is responsible for, assigning matchups on the line. I don't, but that one.
I think something like that I specifically point to Ben Johnson on because it's like, what's the play call that like you're like, oh, TJ's going to stay in and block Gionne? Like, why? I can understand a chip. Like if you're like, oh, TJ is supposed to chip him and they leak out, but like if he's supposed to like block him head up, like why are you doing that?
Dude,
and why did you continue to do it?
Gionne had like a career game, not a career. He had a great game.
He had a great game. I think to Dan's point, and at first when he first said it, I was like, wow, Dan's a little delusional. But then I thought about it. Gionne had 2 sacks. He got the sack on Taylor Decker where he beat Taylor Decker pretty badly. Oof. And then he beat Sewell pretty badly on that 4th and 9 that probably shouldn't have been called, right? Like shouldn't have gone for that 4th and 9, but he beats Sewell on that and gets the sack fumble. Outside of that, like he had 4 quarterback hits. I'm sure he had some pressures, but like it wasn't like complete dominance. Like it wasn't as bad, I think, as it seemed. I think Jared made it seem like it was worse because he just couldn't handle pressure at that point. And that's why for me, like he kind of gets the blame because it's like I don't even know if Ben Johnson was calling bad plays or not. It just felt like, John, you pointed this out. Certain quarterbacks get a lot of time in the pocket and they somehow find a guy open.
Yeah.
Jared Goff gets time in the pocket or extends a play and then throws it out of bounds. And I don't understand the logic in that at all.
Because like we've all been here week after week talking about how like that was the problem, and that's one of the things that like absolved Okudah was that people calling for saying, you know, Okudah was a bust, he was drafted too high. Well, you can't help his drafting, but like he was left to defend Devontae Adams and like the greatest wide receivers in that opening stretch with a defensive system that didn't believe in pressuring the quarterback. So he was like put on an island and asked to just cover the best wide receivers in the league for 5 to 7 seconds. And lo and behold, like all of these quarterbacks, Ryan Tannehill can like do this. And like every time you see these quarterbacks dancing and extending the play, Mahomes, Josh Allen, like even Ryan Tannehill and like mediocre guys, like someone's going to get open because as your secondary cannot cover someone for like just like 7 seconds. It's just impossible. But like Jared Goff doesn't do it, throws it out of bounds.
Yeah, there were so many plays where like I'm sitting there and I could tell they must be playing zone. They never like really like broke it down in the broadcast, but I'm like, they have to be playing zone because he's looking and he's not seeing anything. And it's like, dude, you got to let it rip. Like somebody has to be open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scotty?
We'll get into it in the next topic.
Well, you don't want to pick who you're blaming?
No, I'm blaming Goff. Like, I mean, like this is absurd. He looked lost. It was Mr. Turnaround.
That's so pissed.
That's why I played the car crash a little premature, but like, sorry, not sorry.
Oh, I didn't know what it was. Like it was
so loud. It was too loud. It was
okay.
No, it was just it was a bad volume level. Just like his bad play. No, he was like spinning around doing a circle Goff, and then he's like, I don't know where to go. I'm gonna throw it out of bounds. He looked like, I mean, clearly Belichick knew what to do to confuse him. I mean, like, he looked out of sorts. He looked nothing like what we've seen in the first couple games, right? Not the same.
True.
He didn't. There was nothing I saw in that game. I was like, oh, that's the guy we had the car crash sound for last year, right?
Yeah.
Now, if this is a one-time thing, okay, I can deal with that. But if this turns into habits again, and if this is bringing back old habits, if this is getting him scared in the pocket, leaving early, rolling out, seeing nobody, this is a problem. So how would I categorize Jared Goff's game? Horrible. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Reynolds is the only guy he can find. Like when he scrambles, Reynolds, sometimes he can find Reynolds. I know Amon-Ra was on a pitch count probably. He wasn't out there the whole game. He was probably on a pitch count, so that did not help him. And I do also want to throw in Swift. We are a different team when DeAndre Swift plays. Like, that is clear. That is obvious. That is beyond obvious. He's played 2 games. We need him to play more games. Now, if he can't do that, that's a problem because we need him. We need that because that's also a little bit of kind of a security blanket or kind of just like, I know that Stafford liked to check down too. I mean, look at Stafford in LA. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's not throwing it downfield. What else is new in Detroit? We love check down Charlie's. But anyway, I'm just frustrated with that. You got to.
It's like a spiral of rage right now for you.
I was gonna say spaghetti at the wall. It's
fine. Throw spaghetti all day long at Goff's face. Anyway.
Well, no, one thing I do want to point or go back to that you mentioned is the absence of Swift, because going back to the previous question of like who's to blame for the offense, I do think there is an argument to be made for the loss of DeAndre Swift in this game, because I don't know about you guys, I was starting to get to the point where I was like, oh, like this offense can operate perfectly as long as it has Jared Goff. Like I mean, I thought the Seattle game kind of proved that, like, oh, as long as we have Goff, this offense can function really, really well.
Agree. It looked that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this game happened, and I was like, there were so many plays that I'm like, man, if DeAndre's in the game, that play, like a play happens, a play is made. Like DeAndre is just, he's that much of a spark plug. He's that much of an impact player where it's like, and this is not like to snub Jamal, because Jamal played really well. He had some really good runs. I think Craig played really well, had some really big time catches. But DeAndre's a home run threat. Like some of the catches that Craig Reynolds makes and he gets like 8 yards, DeAndre's probably getting 24. Like that's the gap
based
in
on
their
what
talent.
we've seen. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We've seen
And-
it. So it's not, it's ridiculous.
And so I've said this before, that like the reason that like I'm kind of down on Goff for various reasons is like I don't think he's the type of quarterback that elevates players around him, right? Like I think he can manage a system really well, and he can probably even, obviously, as we've seen the Lions through every game prior to this one, he can make like a really good offense be, you know, top 10 probably. But I think DeAndre Swift is the type of player that elevates his quarterback and elevates an offense entirely just by his presence. Same can be said for Saint. When Saint is healthy, he elevates an offense to a different level. And so for me, like looking at Jared Goff's performance in this game, I am going to just categorize it as one bad performance. I can't throw away what we've seen him do in 4 other games. I can't. I'm choosing to believe that this isn't a regression back to what he was last year. I do think it was just one bad game. He got hit one too many times and started seeing ghosts. But I don't think that's what we're going to see after the bye.
I agree with you. I hope so. I'm leaning that way. And so my only other thing I want to add on to that was Hawkinson, right? They knew to take him out of the game because that's his next, Goff's next, right? Not security blanket, but next, like check. I mean, Hawkinson. You know, that's his other guy, and they stop that. And so once you stop that, he's like, where is he going? Reynolds, if he can get the time and roll out and see him.
Yeah.
What did Hawk have? Like 1 or 2 catches?
I think Hawk had 1.
Yeah. And then they had him block, like you said, Meko, they had him like blocking, like I don't know. Sorry.
Well, so I don't know.
It's broken a little bit today.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. I'm going to go back to the last question. Who deserves more blame? I originally wanted to say it was 60-40 Goff, Ben Johnson, and 60% of the blame. But Meko, you brought up a good point of we're not even sure how much of Ben Johnson's game plan was run. Basically, like I would say, like past the first quarter, it's hard to tell, because maybe there were really great plays that were being drawn up. They just weren't getting it to them. Like I think on that one play that you said, that 4th down where he just fired it at St. Brown short of the sticks. It was Reynolds was, and I remember the commentators talking about the defender like faked that he was following Reynolds and then immediately came back over.
That's right. Because Reynolds opens up deep.
And had Goff just hung onto that ball half a second longer, 1 second longer, and maybe, if he wasn't so, gun shy, like at that point, then, maybe ifs, ands, or buts. But so I want to change it to like, I think 70-30 Goff.
Well, I'm changing
Ben Johnson, and mainly because
not allowed.
I think Ben Johnson does. We've talked about Goff enough. I don't really have anything to add to what you guys said, but I will say Ben Johnson, this was the first game where the game plan, it just seemed like I remember texting Scott saying they must not have a very good run defense. This is the most run heavy approach I feel like I had seen. And they were just basically like run. And then there was no run, pass, punt. It was like run, pass, turnover on downs.
run, pass.
Yeah. And then like that didn't seem to adjust or evolve at all throughout the game. And there have been other times where we see a really well-timed trick play that gets the team back into it, that gets the crowd back into it, that like provides some sort of spark. And if we're talking about Dan Campbell being aggressive, then it's bizarre that he didn't, because I mean that like the fake punts, I mean, it just seems like his bread and butter. It's just, I'm going to call a trick play because it's going to be a shot in the arm to the team. And we didn't see that. And we saw a very, very vanilla game plan. Very run heavy, which, there's nothing wrong with that. We have a solid run game. But the O-line wasn't really dominating the line of scrimmage, like to your point last week. So it was bizarre to see this not work and then them stay with it. I think that's the first time we've really seen that. And that's why I think, 30% of this really does seem to be, for me, on Ben Johnson. How would I categorize Goff's game? I don't know. I was about to say bad flash from the past in that he got hit and then just was like, just so rattled. But then one bad performance, I think I am going to fall on one bad performance just because it was so bad that, like you said, we've had 4 games of very, very solid, very consistent play where Goff has been getting better and better and better. And if this was like a bad game, I'd be like, this is regression. This is him coming down to earth. But it was so bad that it's almost like there's this, it has to be a fluke. Maybe I'm going to eat those words. So I think I agree with you, Meko. This was just a bad performance because it has to be, right? It has to be. Right?
So,
right?
Yeah. To go back to your point about Ben Johnson's like game plan, like not really ever seeing it like go, I think it pretty much died after their second possession, right? So Patriots go down, they get a field goal. Lions get the ball at their 25. Goff makes a short pass to Reynolds that goes for 22 yards. Jamal has a run for 2 yards. Craig Reynolds has a run for 19 yards. Goff scrambles for 3. Justin Jackson runs for 11. So now they're at the New England 18. Goff throws an interception. That was when he tried to force that ball into TJ.
Yeah.
And from that point on,
and that
like the offense was working. So like I am not going to sit here. I personally can't sit here and believe that Ben Johnson for one game didn't like have a game plan, didn't know how to attack this New England offense or defense, because he did. He had put together a good amount of plays and they were executing. And so they were on their way to getting a touchdown. I was like, they're going to go up by 4 and the Lions will at least be in control if they can keep holding them to field goals. And he threw that pick and I was like, this felt like the beginning of the end right there. Cause I'm just like, that you don't turn the ball over to the Patriots. You can't do that. And then, fortunately it was just field goals. So I kept thinking like, they'll get back into this. And the offense just sputtered possession after possession after possession, 4th down attempt after 4th down attempt. And it was ugly.
Wasn't pretty. Was that the double coverage on Hawk?
Yeah.
On the top of your screen where he was rolling a similar play where he scored the touchdown last week.
And this is like so
similar, same.
I hate to like bring up stuff from the past, but like I'm gonna do it. This is where I go back to when people like I argued with a couple people about the drop that Josh Reynolds had against the Eagles. And people were saying like, the pass was perfect. And I was like, nope, you gotta put the ball somewhere else. This is another example of that. That pass looks like it's perfect, but there is coverage there is bracket coverage. You have to put the ball somewhere else to where, like they say it all the time in the broadcast, where either your guy gets it or nobody gets it. Mm-hmm. And he tried to put that right on TJ so that it was easily like undercut. So I'm trying not to like dump so much like negativity on it, but it was Goff's worst game by far. But he wasn't the only one to have a bad game.
Correct.
Last week we talked about Aiden Hutchinson, and we all kind of, we're kind of just gauging where we were, whether we were concerned, whether we were frustrated, whatever. So John, this question is more so for you, because I believe, Scotty, you and I both said we were concerned. We were not in good spirits with how he had played up until that point. John, you kind of went the other route and said you were frustrated. You weren't concerned. You were just frustrated by his play. Another game where he's not making a huge impact on the game. I'll have to look up his stats in a second, but it just didn't feel like he did much. Are you still just in the frustrated camp, or are you trending towards concerned?
He didn't. I
I'm
don't think
still technically. I guess I'm right up at the line of. I'm still in the frustrated zone. I'm still in the frustrated zone.
Get out of there.
Only because we saw him, like, Kaminsky's out, Charles Harris was out, and he was doing it was basically just him and Aleem on that line. And there was Austin Bryant. Well. There was Austin. Yes. No, I mean, like, there was like of starters, I think, technically.
I was just like, when you mentioned Aleem's name, I was like, oh yeah, that was like a twinkle of a bright spot.
Yeah. That's a twinkle.
So yeah, Bryant, Demetrius Taylor, who I think played fairly well for being called up, but at the same time, like, those are the guys that you want to just rotate in. They're not starters. Like, after quarter two, that, like, the New England Patriots were playing a practice squad. For all intents and purposes. And so for that reason alone, I'm not concerned about Hutchinson. If he's still playing like this with Kaminsky back, with Charles Harris back, with all these guys, I still think it's a little too much to put on. Now, again, same way with what we were saying about Dan Campbell, about it being this doesn't absolve him of anything. This doesn't explain away. I texted you, Meko, during the game. It's really it's an interesting strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him. Of Aiden Hutchinson burying his face.
Dodgeball, for those that don't know. It's a movie. Comedy.
Hutchinson burying his face mask into a lineman's chest that's 40 to 50 pounds heavier than he is, and just like, brrr! And like, that's it. No moves, no spins, no all this like motor, this agility. Like 100% of his motor is just going into a brick wall. It's just like, put your bumper up against the brick wall and rev the engine. And like, that's what he was doing. So by no means do I mean to absolve him or explain away his performance. But that said, in the same way that they were able to double team Hawkinson and attack Goff, knowing there was no one else to go, there was nowhere else for Goff to go. I think we saw a little bit of that with Hutch, because they're like, just take this guy out of the game, and who else is going to get us? I don't know. But seeing him have a clear, straight shot at Bailey Zapp.
Oh my!
I refuse to pronounce it Zappy. I'm going to say Zapp. Bailey Zapp. And so, but seeing that and just seeing him like arms flailing, and then Bailey just goes whoop. It just goes.
Dude,
straight.
I was so convinced. I'm like, oh, there goes, like, oh, Aiden's about to get another sack, and just whiffed. And I'm like, you did not just let Bailey Zappy juke you out your cleats.
That was like Looney Tunes level.
You're right. It should be Bailey Zapp, because he made Aiden Hutchinson pee down his own leg. All right, that's what he pissed down his leg. Didn't make the play. Like,
oh man.
I'm concerned because
what do you have? 2 tackles on the stats sheet? 2 tackles?
Yeah, 2 tackles. I'm concerned because it's not
story.
Again, it's not that he's having bad games. It's that he's doing the same stuff. John, to your point, it's the same stuff game after game after game.
Yeah.
And it's like, I refuse to believe the Lions are teaching you this. I refuse that you are getting in your defensive line meeting. And who's the D-line coach? Todd Walsh, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I refuse to believe that he's turning on the tape saying, Aiden, you go right down the middle of that man. I refuse to believe that that's the game plan.
Yeah.
And the fact that Jonathan Vilma said on national television, Aiden will be great once he develops a pass rush move. Excuse me?
That's what we said about Tracy Walker.
Once he develops one pass rush move, the dude that you took second overall doesn't have one. Like, I don't expect you to have like the full tool belt, right? But you should have one. And I feel like I was lied to at this point, because I feel like there were people that were trying to tell us and try to convince us that no, Aiden Hutchinson has some pass rush moves. BS. BS. Aiden Hutchinson, at least at this point, and I'm gonna say it right now, he will beat you with motor, and if he can't beat you with motor, you win. You win.
We were told he was plug and play. He was ready to go. He was the right decision. We watch Hard Knocks. This is ridiculous. What is
highest floor, NFL ready?
Highest, yeah. What? Yeah. Oh, this is our guy. Is it? Is it? I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau in London forced Rodgers in the Hail Mary. They just rushed. I think it was 3. I think they rushed 4. Kayvon was, but anyway, Rodgers had his Hail Mary situation, but Kayvon was there. We didn't take him. Now he got injured early, and I'm not trying to compare the two, but dude has played less games with more stats already. So I don't know, man. And if Aiden needs help to get to the quarterback too, why are we picking him at 2? Just, I don't know.
That's a good point.
Listen,
look at Sauce Gardner out here just crushing it too. Love the name Sauce.
Listen here.
I just want to say
I'm trying. I'm really trying so hard not to be that guy. That's like, man, maybe we should have took Sauce, because like,
yes, I beat you to it.
Well, because we all know the city would have imploded.
No,
if we would have took
he was
Sauce
amazing. But if he's like, I mean, doing what he's doing,
dude. Could you imagine if we had Sauce and Jeff playing the way he's playing?
That's what I was saying. Right. Hindsight's 20/20, but still, yeah, Detroit would have burned. But then, hey,
listen, this is by no means writing off Aiden for his career.
No, not at all.
I'm concerned, and until I start to see, like, again, it's not necessarily about the stats, but like, you can't keep running down the middle of people. You can't keep overrunning quarterbacks. You can't keep getting washed in the run game. Like, these things can't keep happening.
We were also told he'll never make the same mistake twice. Remember that? That was said a couple times, right? He's the guy. He won't. He'll learn quick. You're not going to make the same mistake twice. Well, he is. 4 games in, over and over and over again. I'm just saying, like, this is what we've been told. We're being lied to our face a little bit.
Yeah,
this is really making me feel like thinking back to that draft, like that day of the night of that draft.
Yeah,
I'm still not convinced that was Brad Holmes' pick. I'm still not convinced that Aiden Hutchinson was really Brad Holmes' pick. I don't care.
But Sheila's
interesting.
No, I believe it was the coaches. I believe, because you listen to how Dan and AG talk about Aiden. What is the first thing they always bring up? Oh, how well he plays the run. When they talk to him about when they asked him about why Aiden's not standing up in a 2-point stance, well, because we need him in a 3-point stance because he plays. Like, it's better for him to play the run. They drafted. I'm gonna say it right now. They drafted Aiden Hutchinson at 2 over Kayvon Thibodeau or even Sauce Gardner or anybody else, simply because they thought they needed a defensive end that could stop the run. It had nothing to do with his pass rushing ability. It had everything to do with his ability to stop the run, because Aiden was a better run defender than Kayvon Thibodeau was. I said it. I don't care.
Okay. I mean,
that's true. I do remember those.
Really not stopping the run that well.
Well, so this is another thing. So like I said, I got my lines. I love
I
that. Like,
I need to do the thunder for Meko. Meko.
I'm
Yeah,
just
that
so
was-
pissed right now.
Thunderworthy. And I feel like it's partially Scott and my's fault why Miko's so pissed. Because, like, I feel like he had compartmentalized enough of this game that, like, he had control. And, like, we keep bringing up this,
We're
like...
trying to get it out of him. That
Okay.
was my goal.
But, no, so one thing that was on my list that I read at the top of the hour that I didn't, because I was like, well, it's not really fair and it doesn't really tie in. So, and it's going to make the segment too long. So I cut it, but now it's actually a good time to bring it up. And another reason why that this one hits me really hard is exactly what we were talking about is last season you had like the draft was a promise of fresh talent to bolster an under-talented team punching way above its weight. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, oh my God, can you imagine this team that the back half of this team with a new draft? And I was like, oh, that made me think, let's look back on that consensus A-graded 2022 draft class. Number 2 overall has played 2 good quarters out of 20. Number 12 overall wide receiver hasn't played, injured. Number 46, DT, hasn't played, injured. Number 97, a developmental safety with only 1 year experience at that position. Number 177, a tight end who's played 1 quarter. Number 188, a linebacker who is currently your greatest player on defense. 217, a DE, hasn't played. 237, cornerback, has not played. Now, some of this isn't entirely...
Chase did play.
Oh, Chase did play? Okay.
Yeah, he played safety, and he was playing safety when they gave up that touchdown.
Oh,
that's why I'm not giving Bailey Zapp any credit.
Okay.
Bailey Zapp gets no credit for that touchdown. Chase Lucas was playing safety.
Yeah,
right.
No,
okay.
That's fine. I'm with you.
So I know that some of this isn't entirely fair, as Kirby has actually looked okay, considering all of the circumstances and the situation he was thrust into, that he's new to the position and blah, 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 blah. And how often 5th to 7th round rookies, like how often do they even play, let alone look good? But like I said, last season, the upcoming draft was a promise of fresh talent. And I don't know, now, considering who they've taken on defense in the first 3 rounds, 2 drafts in a row, Levi, Aleem, Hutchinson, and Pascal. I don't know.
Aleem is good.
Aleem is good.
Hey, NFL, can we redraft?
Can we have a mulligan? Let's do mulligan.
Mulligan, my first draft. Can I try again?
The only person on that list that gets a pass is J-Mo, because I think
yes.
Correct.
You had people questioning last week, like, oh, why do we need Jameson? Well, because if you don't have Chark, you don't have another like outside deep threat. You don't have another weapon if Chark and Saint are both injured and Swift is injured. Like, you need as many weapons as you can get.
I'm with you. I will defend the JMO draft all day long. Let's see what happens. I mean, I will defend that until he proves otherwise. Right now,
until he starts dropping like 60% of his passes, like, but until then,
well, right, until then, but I defend that. Everything else, questionable.
Not looking good.
Speaking of not looking good, I mean, the season hasn't looked good. Like, it hasn't been trending the right way. And so I forgot to create a banner for this one, but I'm gonna just ask you guys, because you guys can see it in the notes. Looking ahead, right? So we have the bye week. We don't have to torture ourselves with Lions games or underperformances this week. But how confident are you that the Lions can at least, I'm lowering the bar so far, that they can at least win more than 3 games the rest of the way? They already have 1.
It's insane. This is where we're at. We're like, after week 1, we're like, no, I'm still confident. 7 to 10 wins. 7 to 10 wins. And now we're like, will we get more than 3?
Bro, it's not good.
Let's go. Why don't I just read out the schedule until Thanksgiving? Why don't I just
do like yes, no? Like,
let me just read it out and we can then, I just want to make sure we know who. So we're playing the Cowboys and the Dolphins and the Packers and the Bears, then the Giants, then the Bills. And that's Thanksgiving. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's just go through it. Is that cool with you guys? Might as well.
Yeah. Is the
Okay.
Bears game at home? I think those are all losses.
No, Bears
except-
game is in Chicago because I was
Oh my
trying to
God,
go to
that's
that. I'm
5
not sure I want
losses.
to now. No, the Bears are not great. I mean, I actually think that's a chance. That's one of the games I think we could win.
That's
All right,
no,
let's
that
do
was
this.
my own. That was the only game I think they had a chance at winning. But if it's not
in
at
Chicago.
home,
Have we won an away game yet?
No.
Under Dan? Nope. Has Goff won an away game? Nope. Okay. So Lions at Lions and Cowboys.
Loss.
Okay.
see, like coming out of the bye, I think it's I do think it's going to be a loss. But I do think if
Dallas.
we have a chance, it's that coming out of the bye. Like I said, I still think it's a loss. It's a loss. But I think
Okay.
that is our next closest. That's our next closest possible win next to the Bears.
Dolphins at Lions. Tua might be back. Not sure there. Dolphins at Lions.
Loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Packers at Lions.
If JMO comes back, it's going to be different because like I have this theory he's coming back against either the Packers or the Bears.
I don't.
And I
he's
think it
gonna
depends.
specify, but- Okay. I don't.
Because that's going to be what, like another month? What's the date of that Packers game?
November 6th.
Yeah,
I'll
so
say-
basically
Yeah.
Pending
I'll say they beat the
JMO
Packers.
return.
I'll say they beat the Packers at home,
With or without JMO.
with or without JMO.
Oof.
You know what? I'm gonna go back.
I don't.
I'm
Go
gonna go
ahead.
back and say that they beat the Dolphins.
Okay. So lost Cowboys.
Mhm.
You think
I think it's like a close loss. Like I think, like to John's point, like I think they come out of the bye looking really, really good, and just like it's a couple bad breaks, kind of like they did
Dallas
last year when
is-
they came out.
Dallas's pass rush is pretty good though.
Well, that's why I think,
close.
yeah. But I think they will. I think the game plan will be better, but or the execution of the game plan will be better. I just think, like I said, I think a couple things are not going to go their way.
Okay.
in Dallas.
All right. So Dolphins at Lions.
it's like Swift should be back for that game at least.
Yeah.
And St. Brown.
For what game?
Jonah
Dolphins?
Jackson will probably be back.
Jonah Jackson was back
against
for
the
this game.
Cowboys. Well, he was?
Yeah, Jonah Jackson played.
Ooh. I didn't even know that. Yikes.
Yeah.
Oops.
So yeah, lost to the Cowboys. I'll have them beating the Dolphins in a shocker.
Well, that's depends on if Tua's playing. I think the Lions lose. I think the Lions. I'll go with the Lions beating the Packers though. Conference game, right?
I'll go with that as well.
I'll
So
go. With
I'll
like
have
they'll
them-
get up for that game. The Packers, the Dolphins, just depends on if Tyreek's healthy, and I mean, there's a lot there. If Dolphins have their full squad, I think we lose.
Yeah. No,
Packers, the Packer game. I think we have a chance. I do. I don't think the Packers. I mean, they lost in London. They just lost to the Giants. I think that the Giants are 4-1, which is insane to me.
out here giving out handies on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, check out Meko's Twitter if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
SFW though.
Literally, that should be rated R. That should be like they show that on TV. That's rated R. They need to.
No, somebody recorded that from like the side. Like that's clearly a fan recording that.
Oh my gosh, that's
Dude
amazing.
was going to town
He was
on
going
whatever
to
he
town.
was. He was committed to the job.
Yeah, dude, that trainer. I mean,
You got
dude,
some icy
that's
hot
the
on
guy
those,
you
got some
want.
icy hot on those balls.
I know, but that's the trainer you want on that sideline, man. That's
Okay.
commitment.
He'll
Talk
get
about
you up for the
buy-in.
game in two ways. He'll get you up for the game in two ways.
Woo! All right, so then Lions at Bears.
When
I don't
screw the
know.
Bears.
I mean, yeah, screw the Bears, but okay. Then Lions at Giants.
Bears are the only game I feel safe saying that's a win. And even
Okay.
then I'm shaky on it. So I'm saying these are all
Lions
losses.
at
except-
Giants.
Lions at Giants. Yeah, in New York. That's
Giants.
a loss. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a loss.
And then Bills at Lions for Thanksgiving. So going into that game, so let's just agree. Cowboys is a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Giants game is a loss.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But Meko, you think that we'll beat the Dolphins, we'll beat the Packers and the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah,
That'll
because
give us 4 wins into Thanksgiving.
yeah, I think
So
I do. I have a lot of
to answer your question. Yes. So Meko thinks yes,
Mhm.
they will go over.
Even if it wasn't just those games, I also think that they beat the Jags later.
I think they beat the Panthers
I
later.
think they beat the Panthers later. So like Dan still has a opportunity to have a very good season as the head coach, right? To get 6-7 wins and to show that he can coach a team to improvement, something that Matt Patricia was never able to do. It's Jared Goff that I think where this is going to kind of hinge on the second half of the season. The first half, his defense has failed him. I will say that Jared Goff has played great in these first 6 games, or first 5 games except for 1. 2. I still think he played crappy in the Eagles game, and just because he got it close at the end doesn't make up for that.
Well, that goes back to us talking about needing full games from the entire team. I mean, if we can do that, yeah, we can win some games.
But yeah, I think they can finish with more than 3.
I agree. I think they can finish with more than 3, but I think it's 4 and 5. I don't think it's where we had it before. I think they have a chance to. They really have to play some really good football to win these games. And I think they're capable of it if we can, again, stay healthy, not make the mistakes on the coaching end. I mean, everybody's got to clean it up. Dan said it. We got to clean it up. I mean, we know what to do.
For a year and a half now.
Right.
I was going to say, like, that's becoming what was Matt Patricia's go-to line? We got to coach it better. We got to execute it better.
It's like pad level or something. He always talked about the friggin' pad level. I know.
Well, he was just saying that, no, that's on me. It's on me. We got to play better. That's all we got to
coach it better. We got to play better.
We got to coach better. We got to play better. That's all he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting eerily. Now, not even comparing the two. Let's be honest, right? Not even comparing the two. But
sure.
It's also as a fan base in talking about this, again, we're saying similar things. We're seeing similar things. I think a lot has changed, but I think we all get very hurt when these things happen again and again. So, yeah, that's tough. I think that they have a lot of work ahead of them, and I think they're going to need everybody on the team. So that's where injuries – already having this many injuries, I mean, 5 injuries in this game, that's not good. So,
I guess the better question is this: do we want them to win more than 3 games? Like,
well, right?
Do we want the draft pick?
I mean, at this point, dude, let's have the Rams lose out. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, listen, because I think as of right now, people are already running like mock drafts and stuff, which is so sad. So sad. I think the Lions currently have the 3rd pick in the draft. Like their own pick is the 3rd pick.
It's the Panthers at the first. I don't know who has the 2nd. Steelers? Oof.
Yeah. And the only reason that sucks is because if everything continues the same way, right? Like, let's say like the order doesn't change, I would be so pissed because the Steelers are absolutely taking Will Anderson.
Yeah.
And that's the player I want most, because otherwise we have to deal with the conversation of, do we take Bryce Young or CJ Stroud? And that's going to make so many people angry.
Yeah.
But I would probably be on the board of like, look, if you're at the 3rd pick again, you got to just take the quarterback.
At this point, if you don't, I think everyone's good. You have to. I mean,
yeah, we always said this is like an absolute prove it year for Goff. And if Game 5 was a fluke, it's the only way his job is safe. If he comes out and plays against Dallas the way he played against, what was it, Seattle?
Yeah.
Then, okay. And then just keeps that up. But my God, if we have a few more, discount double checks, car crash, car accidents.
Well, so I had seen this on Twitter, and I apologize in advance because I didn't look it up to see if this was true. But someone had tweeted out that Dan Campbell had said in his presser something about like Goff can't keep making the mistakes that turn into points. And again, forgive me if that's not accurate, if he didn't actually say that, but I do think that's another like knock against Jared, is that like it's one thing to throw a pick, it's one thing to have a fumble. It's another thing when you're throwing pick sixes and you're fumbling and those are turning into touchdowns. Like that's another concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of concerns right now. There's a lot of concerns. Very concerned. Very concerned.
I don't know. Like I'm concerned, but yet like
One,
I refuse to believe, to John's point, I refuse to believe that the games prior to the Patriots game, like that this is who the offense isn't. Like the offense isn't good. Like I still believe that they're really good, that it's still a really explosive offense. I think they had a really bad outing. So I tend to believe like if you can score 35 a game or 30 plus a game, you're going to win more of those than you lose.
That's fair, but it's a show at league. We've said it ourselves. We're 1-4.
Well, and I feel like the defense showed up for once.
I mean,
your other side didn't.
The defense showed up. Okay.
And like and the defense showed up in the way that we said they needed to, right? They don't need to be amazing. They need to just not be the worst defense in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
If they go from a defense that was giving up 30 plus to a defense that just gives up 20, between 20 and 22, offense go out there and score 24.
You're right, against a third string quarterback and like a not great Patriots team. I'm just let's see what happens with the other teams. There's so much to this. I mean, yeah,
I did
see a
crazy stat. I did see another crazy stat that even though the Detroit Lions got 0 points this week, we are still the second highest scoring team in the league.
I refuse to believe that that's a fluke. Right. You did put up a good amount of points against the Eagles. You did put up a lot of points against the Seahawks. Same for Minnesota. Like you put up points against these teams, and these defenses aren't terrible. Even the Commanders' defense isn't terrible. They have a really good defensive line. They're missing Chase Young, but Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen aren't slouches either.
Right.
That's at home. We can win at home. We can't win on the road.
We've won one game at home.
Well, we can win a game at home.
That just reminds me of that.
Well, I'm talking about last season too. I mean, at this point, we have to. We won a game.
Which reminds me of my all-time favorite.
We're never going to play that soundtrack that we had teed up. We're so excited to play.
Yeah. I think we might need to retire it because, I mean, we played it and then we haven't won anything since.
Burn it onto a CD.
Don't blame that. Blame John and his jinxes. I blame Gionne. That's what I'm
blaming everything. I'm looking at everything that we did from that point on until now.
It's definitely, yes. I blame us. It's definitely us. We have the power in this situation.
We control their future.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know.
So we're just spinning our wheels at this point.
Well, we have a bye week.
We have a bye week.
We can sit on this loss.
And we have other sports starting. So, if the Lions continue to disappoint us, we get to talk hockey and basketball in a week.
Right. We got hockey. Shout out to Red Wings start on Friday. So we're going to drop a little Red Wings gear coming up here this week. Keep your eye out for that. That'll be cool. Mm-hmm. Excited about that. They made a lot of moves in the offseason, so that'll be interesting to see how they start out. And
I'm keeping my hopes low for every other team, by the way, going forward.
Well, that's smart. Smart man.
Like zero expectations. Very low expectations for the Wings. Right? Just let's see the young guys. Let's see the new coach.
Here's the thing. This is what I hope. Expectations are low, but I want them to be exciting to watch. Okay?
Yeah.
I think the Pistons will be fun to watch regardless of what happens. Right? With everything they got going on? No? You don't think so?
Jaden Ivey's going to be exciting. I've seen him in preseason. He's exciting.
Yeah. So that's
I don't know about I don't think it's going to lead to a lot of wins though. They have
No,
not looked great in the preseason. And it's preseason,
really?
but yeah, it's not great. It's preseason, but preseason basketball is like different than preseason football. Like, if that makes sense. Like in preseason football, like your starters only play so much. Preseason basketball, like those guys still typically play because like you're trying to get people like actually in conditioned shape to play like a full game. And nah, Jaden Ivey's look great though.
That's good. We got Ivy to look for. We got a new head coach for the Wings. I mean, we'll see what happens. You never know. That's the cool thing about sports, right? We don't know. We did not know this was going to happen with the Lions. Could have fooled me.
I mean,
but if you were talking to Dr. Tom, he'd tell you.
Some of us were encouraging fellow members of the show to monitor their drinking, but
I didn't listen.
I told you every year John gets me all riled up.
and I told you I wasn't gonna let him do it to me, and I kept telling. We literally almost got into like a whole, not an argument, but we had a very intense back and forth with me on vacation about John's Kool-Aid drinking.
That was a fun conversation. We were like, John,
and now look where we are.
John's drunk again.
Yeah.
Scott's got to drive him home.
Yep.
Those were fun. That was fun. All right. Well, anything else, gentlemen?
No, I want to just go lay in my feelings now.
Because we got you into them. We finally got you into them.
No, I was into them. Like, it's just, I try not to go overboard and overreact to things. And like, I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm seeing from Hutch. I don't like what I'm seeing from Dan's overreactions, his overcorrections. Didn't love what I saw from Goff, but I'm convincing myself that certain things will get better. I believe that Goff will get better. I believe that Dan Campbell will get better, just like AG got a little bit better last week. I believe that some of these things will get better. The only thing I'm not sure about is Hutch. Like, I'm really not sure if that's getting better.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, he needs help. He needs help. He needs
a pass rush move.
He needs
A.
Good
Singular.
A1.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, guys, we did it.
Yeah.
We got through it. Yeah, John, that's true. If I could get to it, but it's too late now.
Oh my God.
How
do you not know where it is?
I have like 5 banks of sounds, so I have to scroll through the sounds.
Well, now right on it earlier.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to play it all like episode long.
Oh my God. Oh, come the excuses.
That guy. I was trying not to be that guy. Anyway, so all right, well, we got through it, guys. Hey, that's a win. Yay for us. Hey, we win. We get the W. I kind of want to hear this now. Hold up. Hold the phones.
No.
Breaking news. Breaking news. I kind of want to hear this, though. Do we not, Meko? It's up to you.
No.
You want to say
Are we talking about what I think you're talking about? No.
Yeah, what I just put in the chat, because no, I have a whole, like, it's going back to something that we've already exhausted at this point. But I'll tell you guys off the show.
Fine. All right. We're gonna record it just in case it's that good. So anyways, we got through today. All right, you guys, thank you for listening, sticking with us. Please like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And yeah, we got Red Wings gear coming out this week. Very excited for the start of that. Pistons next week. And yeah, bye week with the Lions. Yay. And then we have the Dallas game coming back on the 23rd, I believe. That is what it is. Yep, it is. So anyway, thank you guys. I want to thank you both, Meko, Gionne. Thank you for today. I want to thank my family. I want to thank the crew. I want to thank everybody listening. Please, I'm sure you guys, haven't looked at all the comments, but I'm sure you guys have some good stuff. Keep them coming. Yeah, that's about it. Meko?
Yeah, gotta thank my wife, gotta thank my girls. Thank you to you guys for continuing to do this show. Shout out to all of the people that watch and listen and are commenting, and let's be angry together. Let's all just pile in the comments, get it all out, and hopefully move on.
Hopefully.
I'm putting up fingers crossed for those that are listening. Gionne?
So obviously, thank you to Rachel. Thank you to you guys. And instead of doing it, I'm going to be questionable right now. I'm going to say, I've seen a lot of, like, on Reddit, on Twitter, in the social media sphere, I've seen a lot of preposterous reactions to this game, or just sports in general. And I think we joked a few weeks ago about me dissociating from this. Like, I wrote that list and then I was fine. I had the rest of my Sunday. I was great. It was fine. Enjoyed my day. I went and got cupcakes.
That's a big win for those that don't know John. That's a win.
And it was great. And like, so don't be angry in the chat. Just don't be angry at all. This doesn't affect your life. This doesn't affect you at all. This game. It exists. This game exists in order to sell you cell phone plans, fast food, and recruit you to the military. Like, that's why this game exists. And
what?
And did you guys see like the barefoot commercials? They now like have terrible
Taco
wine.
Taco Bell and Little Caesars.
Yeah. So terrible wine, fast food, cell phone plans, credit cards, and the military. Like, that's why this sport exists. That's why it's being streamed into you. And so just it's meaningless. Like, this doesn't matter. It shouldn't affect your life. So yeah, it's great when they win and it sucks when they lose, but like, just dissociate. Just dissociate.
Love the ones you love.
Yeah, love the ones you love and get a hobby.
Moment.
Like, and just
Start a podcast.
Start a podcast. Learn an instrument. Hit me up. I'll teach you lessons. Ukulele, guitar, piano, voice, whatever you want to learn, I'll teach it to you. Learn a language, read a book, learn how to cook, just do something, enjoy your life. So that's
apply to be a physical trainer and give out handies on the sideline.
In the greater state of New York.
You getting paid? Getting paid. Maybe I'm not saying it. All right. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. Again, like, follow, subscribe. And this is the Questionable Podcast. Out.